Hi guys, welcome back to yet another video. So in today's video, we'll be talking in detail about the SET examination, which is the Symbiosis Entrance Examination. So today's video, I'll be talking about how to approach the grammar part for the SET examination. So without any further ado, let's get started with the video. So let's take a general look at the English paper. So comparing with the other examinations, if you take the English paper of the SCT examination, you can see that it is a very short paper, which means you can only have 16 questions. So, and if you look at the syllabus of the English part, I think we can divide this paper into two parts as grammar and vocabulary. Why? Because since we have only we can expect only 16 questions. You can expect questions from basic grammar and also other parts of vocabulary such as mainly synonyms and antonyms, then spotting errors, idioms, analogy, and fill in the blanks, etc. So these are the areas where you can expect questions from. Now let's take a look at the grammar, right? So in the grammar part, as I mentioned before, in the English part, you can expect around only 16 questions. So for the grammar part, we need to only know in detail about the basic areas of grammar, such as the parts of speech, verb tenses, subject-verb agreement, and finally active voice and passive voice. So if you have a very basic understanding of how these areas work and that will be more than enough to ace the grammar part of the examination. So let's take a detailed look at each of the sections, right? So the first one, which is the parts of speech, right? So how do we approach this part? So we need to first understand what are the different parts of speech, such as noun, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, etc. And how we have to recognize how each part contributes to the structure of a sentence, right? So what is the function of each part of speech in a given sentence, right? So understanding this much is more than necessary. And the expected questions are basically identify the parts of speech in a given sentence, and also sometimes they may ask questions like complete the sentence by choosing the correct parts of speech. So these are the some of the basic expected questions from the area of parts of speech. Moving on to the next one, which is active voice and passive voice. This is very important area because here we need to understand the distinction between active voice and passive voice, right? So in which all cases where we give importance to subject, and also in what are the cases where we give importance to the object, right? And also we need to recognize when and how to use each voice in a given sentence, right? So you can expect questions like basic questions like converting a particular sentence from active voice to passive voice, and also in vice versa. Maybe the given sentence will be in passive voice and you will have to convert that into an active voice, right? So, and also you may expect a question like identify whether a given sentence is an active voice or passive voice, right? So basically they will give us a sentence and we have to identify whether it is an active voice or passive voice, right? So in order to tackle the questions related to active voice and passive voice, first of all, we need to understand the distinction between active voice and passive voice. So that's it for active voice and passive voice. And now moving on to the next one, which is a very important section, that is the tenses, right? So here we don't have any other options other than to master the various verb tenses in present tense, past tense, and future tense. And we need to understand their usage. So basically, having a basic understanding how different tenses are formed, the formation of these tenses, or the formula of these tenses. If we have a basic understanding of that, it is more than necessary, right? And usually you can expect questions like complete the sentence with the correct verb tense. And also another major area is the error spotting, right? You will be given a particular sentence and you will be asked to identify the error in a given sentence, right? So in order to tackle questions like that, we need to have a basic understanding of the tenses. And and the next one is subject verb agreement, right? So this is another very major part because here we need to basically understand the rule which governs the subject verb agreement. So we need to identify if the subject is singular, we need to use the a singular form of the verb. If the subject is plural, we need to use the plural form of the verb. So this is the basic rule regarding subject-verb agreement, right? So we need to understand that, and we need to also understand in how different circumstances we use the subject and verb in a sentence, right? So from this part, you can expect questions like identify the correct verb form based on the subject, right? So basically, if the subject is singular, you have to use the singular form of the verb, right? So based on that, you can expect questions. So also you can expect questions like complete the given sentence with the appropriate subject-verb agreement. So these are some of the basic areas or basic types of questions you can expect from the subject-verb agreement. So we have talked about active voice, passive voice, tenses, subject-verb agreement, and parts of speech. So since I mentioned before, we only have 16 questions in this part. So mastering these 4 areas are more than necessary to ace the grammar part. So some general tips regarding this area. So one of the major tips is to practice regularly. Even though we may know the basic idea about these parts, but if we have a regular practice, it will be much better when we appear for the examination. And also when we practice, review our mistakes and review and find out in which area should I focus on. And another important tip is to read, right? So basically, if you read much and much, it will definitely help you in the given examination. And also, all utilize different grammar guides, textbook, and online research for in-depth learning. So with that, we have come to the end of today's video. So in today's video, we talked about how to ace the grammar part for the SAT examination. So stay tuned for much more videos on SAT examination. Thank you, guys.